We are beginning this meeting at 6:30 p.m. and 59 seconds, I believe that's what it was, because it just switched to 6:31, so. Yeah, let's call to order this meeting. You should have received an email with the updated parking lot reviews. Did everybody get that email? Okay, good. And in red were the updates to the parking lot questions. So if you have any further clarification, send an email to Colleen and we'll continue collecting those. So we discussed with Colleen and Phil, we thought that articles 9 and 10 would be very important to discuss all together, or with a plurality of people. As we see today, we are less than a plurality of people.
Tough word.
Yeah. So we are going to be skipping those until November 13th. There is no whole business, so we have, what I would say is a short meeting. A lot of these,
From your lips.
but we'll see, of course.
From your lips and reality might be different.
All right, we'll figure it out, but most of the sections are short, so let's try to go through them as thorough as possible with the questions that we may have. Any questions before we start with Article 11? Okay. Article 11, Fire, Police, and Health Services, Section 104, Provision for Services. This one was one of the ones that was proposed in the previous review, and it got voted down. I had the opportunity to hear the story of the volunteer fire department on this one. I can understand why it got voted down, but maybe we want to consider that next time. Are there any questions about the one that you go into the parking lot?
Just if you have a comment on why needed, that would be interesting.
My idea is that people saw it as a, when they see removal of fire department, it may not have gone through that this was not.
You think they lost sight of the volunteer?
Correct, exactly. So like, because it says, in a separate ordinance, the council shall first, so as long as the provide for the formation and operation of a volunteer fire department. So I think that kind of may have, I mean, I wasn't here, so I didn't vote on that, but that's my thinking. It's just like they saw, wait, we're getting rid of the fire department. That may not be a good thing. Or they may have known about how the fire department was formed, and they may want to keep it as a, I don't know, kind of like a historical point of the past, you know, something like that, like a keepsake, you know, like, oh, we used to have this, we don't have it anymore, but at least there's record of it. So those are the two things that jump into my mind as a result. But maybe you have a different opinion. Yes, Ken?
I don't see any reason to keep.
Oh, I think we are. I mean, I don't want to speak for everybody. I think we both are in agreement for this.
I mean, forget about the past of 2015.
Yeah.
This is 2025.
Yeah. There is no requirement to keep this, as far, right? Okay.
Yeah, I can appreciate folks wanting to hold on to the concept of volunteer fire department, but they should read some of the history that's out there. The volunteer fire department in 1890 put out a railroad fire. And at that point in time, the railroad gave them a stipend of $100 for having provided that. They took $50 and had a nice party. The other $50 they set aside for the formation of the first library in Littleton. 5 years later, 1895, 3 shelves in an apothecary on the north side of Main Street was the first Littleton library. And one of the volunteer fire department members was Edwin Bemis's dad, and the woman that started the library was Bemis's mother. And so if we wanted to, in this, we could put a little historic document together that should say, rather than Edwin A. Bemis Library, it should be the Bemis Family Library, in my opinion.
Yeah, I was curious, since we no longer have a fire department. If,
Volunteer.
Well,
No,
but we
We
still,
have no fire department.
All right, because it's the district.
yeah,
Yeah.
but it says the council should provide an ordinance fire, and in my mind that we don't.
well,
Is there an ordinance that says we're in contract with SNFR?
The vote.
I'd have to go back and look at,
We do have an IGA with them, which I don't know if we ever did by ordinance. I want to say we did, but
yeah, I'd have to go back and look.
talking about how we separated assets,
Right.
of which they have a really sweet deal over here in the corner of our building, but they pay nothing forever. Sweet deal, right?
The city does not provide for fire anymore, because the voters said we went with Metro. So just
Right,
a
but
question for the parking lot.
yeah, I made a note of that. I'll go back and look at how they did that. Look at the IGA.
And could you define what the health services were, because they were talked about 10 years ago. And it's not clear in my head what it is.
Yeah,
that's
I
referring
wasn't
to.
part of this 10 years ago, so I don't know what those were, but I can go back and do some research on that. And maybe I'll get in the parking lot. If that would help.
I would assume that we're talking about emergency services, so the EMTs that South Metro has, so, I mean, that's majority of their calls, honestly, are more ambulatory type of calls in nature than they are fire.
When I look back in 10 years ago in the report that we have, they talk about health services being something that was provided by the county. So.
That specific, yeah.
Yeah,
So
so
I'd like to know what it means.
yeah, I'll go and see what kind of research I can do and maybe answer that question in the next parking lot update.
And I was gonna say, I think when we get to the point where we are ready to make recommendations, part of it is the verbiage in here that I think was confusing, because it says delete the requirements, and I think for some people that might mean something different than what it really did.
Right.
So when we get to that point, I just want us to, as we're looking at these things, think about why, not just why it may have failed, but why it might have been confusing for some people.
Yeah.
Not agree with that.
Okay.
Okay,
Well, I'll
Yes.
make another comment. The charter is something that we will utilize for the next period of time until there's another charter review committee. And we spell out what's gonna happen for 10 years.
whatever.
So this is not meant to be a historical document to account for all of what happened in the past. That's not the purpose. Right?
Correct.
Correct. I'm just, the 104 provision of services, 1959. So Littleton Fire operated as a volunteer fire department up until 1960. 1960 was when they actually started paying, I think it was employing them specifically. So when this was written, the volunteer aspect of it was clearly something that was
Yeah.
relevant at the time.
Any extra questions for the parking lot?
That's 66 years ago.
Quite some time. Yes. Okay.
Bucket brigade out there.
Article 12, section 105, services provided for parks and recreation. I assume this is in partnership with SS South Suburban nowadays. So I would just like to ask if there's anything that we can make sense to clean up or.
I mean, it already says that the city may cooperate with other public authorities, organizations, or individuals in or outside the city to implement, which is what we do through contract with South Suburban currently.
Because South Suburban set up like South Metro Fire Rescue is, because South Metro Fire Rescue is its own like separate government.
Special district.
Right, it's a special district, right? So is South Suburban the exact same legal structure? Is it a special district too?
Yes,
Okay.
they just provide a different service.
And there are parks within the city that are managed, controlled by the city, and there's a lot of them that are controlled and managed by South Suburban.
Oh, it's not universal? No.
It's not, Giga is kind of more of a city park.
Oh,
And then to make it more interesting, we have parks that are owned by the city and managed by South Suburban. We have parks that South Suburban actually owns. Operates within the city of Littleton. So I know we've had a lot of discussions around Jackass Hill Park. That is one in which South Suburban actually owns half of it. And then we own the northern half.
And Reynolds Landing and others.
That is correct.
Is there any benefit of calling out South Suburban now that 59 and 66 years later?
So,
It's right.
yeah, my concern would be entities do change their names, right? They do become known as something else. And when we're looking at a charter, that is very difficult to change unless the people, if South Suburban Parks and Rec were to change their name or, you know, whatever.
Denver Metro.
Right, then it becomes, and again, I think because it does state that they can cooperate with other public authorities, organizations, or individuals, that covers who they are now, who they may become.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but I like where Carol's head's at though, which is why I was asking the special district question, right? Cause maybe it's interesting to put the language special district, which has a very well defined
But what if it's
in the
not
city code.
always a special district?
Right. But, right, it would just be added to that list.
So-
So, but yeah.
Yeah, I just think, and we can certainly make recommendations about every single section. I think what we need to focus on, at least in my opinion, is sections that are going to rise to the level of something that really needs to be changed. Because if we come at council with, we have a problem with every single section in here, whether it's verbiage or we want to get rid of the second half of it.
I do have a question when it comes to these, which is in the instance on Article 11 and Article 12, our contracted relationships are with organizations where our citizenship has a vote. When you get to water, we do not have a representation on the Denver Water Board. And so I don't know if there's something that we can do, but I would just want to raise that
Do
issue.
we want to wait until?
Well, I can, but I want to raise it now so that when we get there, I don't have to, but it's in relation to these two, which says we can have a public entity, but we have representation and an ability to vote on this, where with the Denver Water Board, we do not.
I guess I had kind of a larger question of, so, the council may provide by ordinance for planning, establishment, supervision bond. Like, did we need a city charter section to explicitly authorize us to make parks? Like, I mean, there's nothing preventing city council from passing ordinances establishing anything. Like, if they want to build a library or a hospital or a movie theater, you don't need a city charter that says
You don't need to get that prescriptive.
so anyway, I mean, and again, maybe that's off topic, and again, to your point, that's not a high priority recommendation. I was just curious, like, why we specifically needed to call out that city council
So-
can do parks.
Again, we have to think about when this charter was adopted.
Just kind of
Right.
brainstorming for the future.
They really were looking at this as a very broad guiding document for a new city that was a new municipality and, kind of baby steps, right? And so let's just put everything and the kitchen sink in there. Even things that really should have been in the code. And then this will be our jumping off point. So what we're trying to do now is kind of tighten that up a little bit. Like, we have things in here that shouldn't be in here, that shouldn't be this prescriptive.
Yeah,
And so-
I just wanted to make sure I was understanding. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Anything else on 105?
I'm just gonna make a comment, what we're saying is that in 1959, yes, this was the way things were laid out. But the way it's worked out, they're all covered in this paragraph. That's to leave it.
Article 13, yay, water, voting powers and water. Let's go with this one. Okay. Bill?
Well, it's one of those things which is, raised and, we had an agreement with Denver Water that anywhere that Littleton would annex, Denver Water would service, which we withdrew that component. And so, our relationship with Denver Water is different than what is outlined in 11 and 12. And, I don't know how much we want to discuss it or whether we can do anything about it. But it's one of those things which is kind of eats at me over time, that, when it comes to sanitation and parks and things like that, we've got one side. And then when it comes to, our relationship, with energy, we have the PUC at the state level where we can, put out complaints. But we really have no power in our water service. And that's kind of grates with me, but.
How's the,
Carol?
Well, if Reed, are you,
go ahead.
okay. You said that there's some things that are, not working in here. Can you be specific?
When it comes down to our water rates, which at this point in time, there's questions of what our future is going to be with water across the state of Colorado. And Denver Water is a big user of Trans Mountain Water, and also is a contributor to the South Platte, both in and out. And we have our relationship with Nebraska that's under components, and we are basically on the outside. And so when it dealt with storage, even in Chatfield, and then what was the flow going to be in the South Platte that runs through the city, we're kind of at the whims of the other powers where we don't really have a whole lot of actual say.
I was looking for specific language in here that's not working.
Is there language you would like to add to make it more clear? Maybe versus looking at what's,
Well, and when it comes down, it's just when it says, the council shall have the power to approve and authorize by resolution the entry into a contract or contracts with Denver Board of Water Commissioners under the terms which the water customers of Littleton shall receive water service, et cetera, et cetera.
We did that. That's how, I mean, when we're talking about the city's current water rights, we transferred most of those long ago to Denver Water. So the other problems that, just to your point about being kind of at the mercy of Denver Water, true, and the water courts, and, we've seen what's happened with the Highline Canal. Now, that is not a Littleton specific issue, that's affecting all of the region range, but we're no longer putting water in there. That's a challenge. We ran into issues in terms of the water courts. Water law is a completely separate animal. Regarding how we were using water that we were getting from the Highline and helping replenish Kettering, and they didn't like that. because there was decrees out there saying you can't use this water for recreational purposes. And it's sitting in a pond, it's a recreational purpose, so, they were mad at us about that and argued with them, but we didn't necessarily agree. In terms of representation, I mean, Denver Water is not a public entity in the sense of, it's a district and we all have representation. It's basically owned by the city of Denver, and it's the mayor who appoints whoever the board of commissioners are in the Denver.
They all have to be residents of Denver.
Yeah, I mean, it's.
So it's,
It's their thing.
It's just and it may not be something that we're gonna suggest to be changed, but it's one of those which is an issue, in my opinion.
So what would you like to see happen?
Just notice to the council that, that they've taken on a contractual relationship for which we do not have representation nor an ability other than, join, to have that. And so if there's any renewal that ever comes up or an opportunity to negotiate, we've lost that leverage.
We don't have a lot of negotiating power because we have no more water rights. But, I mean, that's been in place for, what, the 70s?
We had negotiating rights when we had the annexation provision. So,
And I'm not saying we have no water rights, it's just, we have these Antero reservoir rights, which are as needed. I mean, whoever negotiated the terms of turning over of a lot of our assets being water rights, maybe some of those things weren't completely thought through. Because the Antero rights are kind of, if possible, we'll use some of this water, maybe up at Antero Reservoir.
Your knowledge, are there other jurisdictions in the same? If I hear you correctly, you're basically saying we're at the whim of Denver Water. We have no say over rates, flow, how the water is used. And I guess my question is, it's probably a read question, are other municipalities in our
other
same
areas,
situation?
not necessarily municipalities.
Are you thinking of Firestone?
There's some that are out there now.
Cause like the water district just canceled the town of Firestone's contract. Or something they just recently.
I'm just pulling up their map online. Looks like they cover large parts of Wheat Ridge, Centennial, Greenwood Village, in addition to Denver.
Denver Water
There's a
does.
whole bunch of different jurisdictions that are served by Denver Water. And if we try and say muddy the waters, change stuff, it's gonna have implications for all these other. that are served.
My question is, does Denver Water treat us differently than they treat people everywhere else or in Denver itself? I mean, are they freewheeling in Denver and very harsh towards Littleton specifically?
Well, we do pay a premium, and that premium is determined by the Denver Water Board.
And do we pay a different rate than people everywhere else? Like there's a Littleton rate and a Wheat Ridge rate and a Denver rate?
Yes.
You're aware of that specifically? And who?
Lakewood anyway, so.
Oh, with Lakewood. They negotiated something different.
Might have had something to do with how much water.
Well, I mean, the council does have that authority to negotiate, right? From this language, maybe it is a public, I'm finding out about this right now, maybe like more of the details, right? Like in all the nitty gritty. I proposed some of these things. But I guess this could be a point of maybe that we can bring to the attention, so as Phil says, so that whenever an opportunity arises in the future, we can negotiate. I don't like Phil, I don't like it that we don't have any agency, right, over this.
But what I'm hearing is that we may want to have a little bit more of a robust conversation about this when we get to it. Is that what I'm hearing?
On the very small potatoes layer, we did specifically say that Denver Board of Water Commissioners, not the, Metro Colorado or, or into any regional water consortium or whatever, so we stepped right into the naming a specific body that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah. Of course, at the time, they may have been the only group in town too.
Sure, and again, that's very tiny.
I was wondering if there's anything in this language that is a problem or
No, other than having our water rights back. I haven't run into any issues where there's anything within our charter that is prohibiting our ability, I mean, we run into questions about the use of water. We've got a few ponds that are drying up. Denver Water has actually been relatively, I'd say if there's gripes about Denver Water, it has more to do with when they're doing work. Some of, it's not really the main street that actually went relatively okay, other than 2 claims I have for injuries. But we've had in the past where they're just doing stuff and they haven't told us, but they've generally been relatively responsive. We still have language in here that allows for us to exchange water rights, which is something we, as a city, have explored with Inglewood. Sometimes they have their own water rights somewhere, and we want to potentially trade, do some tradesies. And it's just point of access. It's just challenging for where our water comes from and getting it to the places that we want like it to go. Sometimes it's millions of dollars, and is it worth various pumping and whatnot? If someone uphill or laterally that we can use water, so.
Inglewood is not a member of Denver Water. They're separate entities. Inglewood.
I'm sure, although there are people in Inglewood who are served by Denver Water, just like there's people in Littleton who are actually served by that Inglewood Water.
Sure.
It's not very many.
Just on the northern border.
We had like an E. coli alert in the city of Littleton for, this is probably 5 years ago, for Inglewood water issue. And we're like, that's Inglewood's water. It's not our problem. And then we're like, oh, shoot, they actually serve some of those.
12 people on one block or something.
Yeah.
It's over like Lowell and W, basically that corner over by Diamond Shamrock, Willows and stuff.
We still have a few people. Get into all of us, we still have a few people in septic. Not many.
I learn something every day about this.
Okay. Are we ready to move on?
Yes. In administration, the only question I had is that, is there any recommendations, either the previous section or the section from the Environmental Sustainability Board that we could be doing to make sure that our water facilities are properly taken care of, or, you know, they're not causing undue harm to climate? Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't suggest that would be part of a charter. I know that they have their stewardship plan and a lot of ideas, some more feasible than others.
Have they been dealing with the property owned east that's used by the water facilities yet?
I don't think I've let people know about that. We own, between the city of Littleton and the city of Inglewood, we own about 7,000 acres of land out in Bennett Byers area out east, where we take some of the, we'll call it the sludge, the treated bio matter from SPR, which has had different names over time. We're talking about entities that have changed their name. So our South Platte Renew, which is owned 50% between the city of Littleton, 50%. And we have used it as a way to, in conjunction with CSU for a period of time, to grow crops out there. And for a period of time, they were doing studies to see if there was a way to, I don't know what they were studying, but I think the thought was to see if there was some way through growth that you could help to speed up the process of degradation of certain forever chemicals, or I don't know, it wasn't like PFAS out there, but it was stuff.
So how
We're actually
many,
gonna renew those leases in about a month. So stay tuned.
So how many acres or
7,000
acres?
acres. That was my only comment. Anybody else? Great. The more you know, right?
Increase them, I guess. God, I think it's. Section 109.
Section 109. My one question is, says that we shouldn't have a relationship for periods, or we should have periods, relationships not exceeding 1 year. And I don't know whether that is what our relationships are.
Yeah, the council vote on our Denver water relationship every year?
Doubt it.
No, and in fact, I think the conveyance of our water rights is, which were sent to Denver, given to Denver, decreed to Denver, came with it a promise by Denver to serve the city of Littleton. With that, at the time, I want to say that there was actually a payment of monies that were made to the city of Littleton in exchange for both service as well as the conveyance. And so I think we took that money and we, I
How,
don't know, something that we needed to do.
I guess my question on this is how important is the use of that term temporary contracts versus
Contracts.
the conveyance of, yeah, like,
Oh, yeah, because the conveyance is permanent, right?
versus a temporary
That's
contract,
probably one of those
which I can.
questions that the voters will say no on, because they don't understand it.
Yeah, they said no in 2015.
Yeah,
For
but
that to be deleted in its entirety, so to your point, I mean.
Yeah.
but also keep in mind that this charter section preceded us, our conveyance of most of our water rights to Denver. So at the time it was, hey, could we sell some of this excess water that we had to other neighboring jurisdictions? Probably made a ton of sense. Now it's kind of not really relevant because we'll never have enough water to sell to anyone.
When was the last time we exceeded what we needed? Or ran a surplus, I guess. Or I guess it doesn't even matter, because if we did, it would go to Denver Water. Not to control necessarily.
We have some of our own. I don't,
I guess when was the last time we entered into a contract to sell our excess water?
I'm sure back in the
1973.
fifties and the sixties, we probably had agreements with the city of Inglewood or any of our neighboring locations to provide water.
I believe same question for the section 110, right? Temporary contracts.
It's fine, we're doing it now. We have between the city of Inglewood and the city of Littleton, SPR, South Platte, sorry for acronyms. I want to say there's 20 connector districts. So SPR in and of itself probably serves over 300,000 folks along the Front Range. We're probably the fourth largest waste processor in the state.
Time we're considered the third.
See, there we go. But it's a really expensive system, and each of those connector districts have their own kind of rate structures and agreements. We've tried to work with the city of Inglewood, make sure we're on the same page. And that we're consistent with our rates, because right now there are a few locations that are paying less than others, which isn't really fair, because at the end of the day, it costs the same to treat Roxborough's waste as it does, Centennial's waste or.
Well, and some of it is metered and some of it is just tiered.
Yeah, and then we have whether we're talking about biosolids or liquids and, so we do that. I'm calling it sales services now. I don't see it as problematic. I mean, gives us the authority to enter into.
No recommendation to
No,
die on this hill.
no, honestly, when I see stuff like periodic, it's like, what does that mean? Maybe it's great if we did this every 5 years and it was on a set schedule, and maybe we'll get to that point where we negotiate or renegotiate rates on that, and everything is consistent, but.
Jurassic was a period, right? A few million years.
So Reed, you said there are about 300,000.
Yeah,
And if you look at just Englewood and Littleton, it's not much more than 100,000.
correct.
So it's 3 times. Just
Yeah.
unignored.
Yeah, and I'll tell you that the plant has the capacity to treat at least twice that.
Yeah.
Okay. But where we run into the issues and we talk about the liability is every year, perhaps not with our current administration, is, with different water standards and quality standards, we keep adding things to make sure that we're filtering and we're taking out, and the technology at points in time is super expensive. And so our plan, or SPR's plan, not my plan, has been to, I wouldn't say delay or stall or anything, but to buy time when we can through credits to come into compliance later, because technology moves so fast. That a lot of things that would cost us, tens of millions of dollars to purchase and install may be obsolete, and like, maybe there's a new way of doing it that's cheaper, faster, and more economical. So I mean, if you guys haven't been to SPR, I totally recommend checking it out. I mean, it's really amazing what they're able to do.
Super cool.
Not as smelly as you think it'd be.
Right,
It's really not as bad.
okay. Anything extra? Article 14. I believe this first section, 111, should be in the definitions section, if at all. That's what it reads to me.
Where you're saying public utility and public utility corporation,
Right, because
just move that to the definitions.
Right, because they're defining what
Right.
this means. So like, I'm like, if we can just, instead of have a section for it, but explain in the definition section what this means, I feel like that makes more sense. You know. And that's how I look at it. I'm like, "Ooh, this is a definition, why is it not in the definition section? At the beginning of the charter. But there may be other reasons why this is here, so.
Well, yeah.
I have a dumb question, which is WhatsApp a communication system? Is Netflix a television system? Is DoorDash a transportation system? And does that make them public utilities?
Well, they are serving the public.
They're public service.
Public service thing, private.
So we should have Littleton Dash, is that what you're saying?
Well, I mean, I guess I just, again, I don't know, I don't know that it has any implications, but I was just struggling to understand. I mean, obviously, we still have telegraphs in there too, which I'm not too
Well,
worried
and
about.
again, from 1959.
Sure,
right?
sure.
How about smoke signals?
That was my,
I mean, okay, so, generally when we're talking about public utility or franchise agreements at the time, and until relatively recently, we're really talking about almost providing, I won't call it exclusive use, but an exclusive service for, whatever it is. Cable was the one in which a lot of folks used, and various jurisdictions had, hey, I've got a franchise, we have a franchise agreement with Comcast. So that means that Comcast is the one who services our community. Other people have tried Jones Cable and all sorts of stuff and have.
And CenturyLink.
What's that?
And CenturyLink.
And CenturyLink,
Which
so.
became Lumens, which who knows what it's called now.
Women's CenturyLink. Anyway,
And T-Mobile.
but now we've kind of gotten rid, well, and then the the FCC has gotten involved with a lot of requirements for the Wi-Fi, cellular type stuff, and so it is kind of cut back the ability and the importance of franchises in general. I mean, especially as folks move away from the wires and the connections and all that sort of stuff.
What happens with,
But we would get franchise fees.
folks wanna put attachments to telephone poles?
We're required to allow it, right, depending on what you wanna. Within reason, but for the most part, yeah, I mean, that's what the FCC has come in and has said that, hey, I know you've got a public telephone pole or street light or something. You have to allow for this company to come in there and fix something to it because that's what they've told us to do. So. Adam Fallon was kind of our guy for telecommunications. Kind of, I don't know how he could do it. When I started in law 25 years ago. Anyways, my first, when I was in law school, and I had a little internship, it was actually with Ken Fellman. He was, and I had to do this telecommunications stuff on, it was so terrible. Figure out how anyone would be so excited about this stuff. I digress.
Then he chose me this.
Right.
So, just for my own qualification, is naming a section generally a normal thing? There's like-
It appears in a couple of places throughout the charter and our code.
Okay, so it's a thing.
It's a-
It means nothing to me. That's why I was-
It's a thing that maybe could be better titled.
I don't.
It's consistent.
Ish. Yeah.
Alright.
Whatever we do, the telegraph is staying in there. Sounds good. Okay.
I have,
Yes, Captain.
what about these sidetracks and owning, operating sidetracks and switches and all that stuff? Does that make any sense to have that in there?
There was an attempt. Think to remove that, no? No. That was 116, 117. Where you get to that? The railroad track.
I wasn't in the
Doesn't
room.
this
at
get
59,
into,
so.
Things have changed
I mean,
somewhat.
yeah, the sidetracks was where you could divert the car over to the business. They could load up that and then. I don't think Burlington Northern is.
we still have some issues with the railroad around their ownership of property and when we can like improve roads or not. There's been the Santa Fe that's owned by Burlington Northern that caused a delay in the resurfacing. They're at
100%. Working with railroads, really challenging. Working with ditch companies are really challenging. But if we want to do anything that versus their railroad, I mean, that's really one of the only uses we have. Like, we have one overpass in the entire city that goes over their tracks. You have to get permission from them to do this stuff. And to get them to actually abate graffiti and things like that, oh my goodness, it is challenging.
So Ken, your recommendation is to consider deleting some of those things?
I'm just saying, I don't know about the operation of sidetracks and
Yeah,
switches.
I mean, there's stuff that's probably no longer relevant, but I don't know if it's necessarily stuff that is
But if-
not allowing us
If the
to.
recommendation is to move this to definitions in general, then we could streamline now, potentially.
That's still a big change. That's a major change.
Yeah, something we can chat about.
No, I understand
If
that.
there's appetite to.
And I don't disagree that it might be better placed in a different place. But doing that kind of change and getting people to vote on that, to change that, Whether that's the people at the council level that wanna take it forward, or the citizenry. I'm not gonna die on that.
No, you kind of have to ask yourself, like, you know, is it eating any hay sitting here like this, right? Like, my brain is coming out.
Section 112.
This just allowed, I think, for any contracts that they currently had to be rolled in until those expiration dates.
Presumably they've all expired in the last 65 years.
113.
Public service calling. So, I don't know.
That's 113 have to do anything with. The only thing that comes to mind is waste management, public utility, no.
It's a cable company, right?
Then no.
Yeah, generally, we're talking about businesses that would be operating within our public right of way
Gotcha, okay.
and some other stuff.
Did council have to pass something to allow T-Mobile to build fiber?
We have, according to FCC rules, we are basically required to allow a lot of these companies that would provide that sort of stuff to do that with our right of ways. And so it's interesting, we were talking about this. We've entered into multiple, what we'll call master license agreements with a number of these companies seeking to provide fiber, whatnot, within our rights of way. I mean, it's not really monetized in the way that we used to with franchise agreements where we would get a certain amount of every bill that every customer got for Comcast or something along those lines. But it's really more of the way in which permits are pulled and work is done. And paint is the way. And when they're gonna be doing work and who they contact.
With the exclusive contract, exclusive franchise, like, you know, CenturyLink or Comcast, say they got here, say that one of them got here first. They, you know, they would be the only bidder, they would have a monopoly, but when the second entrant wants to arrive, we can't say, oh, well, we sold the exclusive rights to Comcast. CenturyLink is not allowed to come in and be a second option for customers.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't allow for exclusivity.
Yeah, the days of Ma Bell are long gone.
But I mean, there
Am I
was
the
a
only
period
one
of
who
time when
gets that right?
there weren't a lot of people in town doing stuff.
Okay, section 114. You guys wanna change where the book of record is kept?
No, but I do have a question, which is, every time somebody attaches something to a telephone pole or a street light pole, they have to let the city know.
One more time, I'm sorry.
So in this book of record, if somebody came along and it was T-Mobile or somebody like that, and they were gonna attach something to a telephone pole booster, do they have to let the city know?
Probably not.
No, the FCC said we can't.
Okay,
refuse
no,
them.
you know what? They do have to let us know, and then we have what's called, well, we have a shot clock, which means if we don't approve it in a certain amount of time, it's deemed automatically approved. Right. So they do have to provide notification to us when they're gonna put stuff. And we can, I mean, they're not gonna put like a 90-foot thing. They're all small, boxy little things, but
I know they're small and boxy, but if you end up with 50 of them on the same pole,
well, yeah, that's a concern that's been raised. The FCC level. They're really making you mad, aren't they?
If we had 50 options for consumers, that would mean the price would be very low.
the thing is, I would actually prefer if Excel would put everything underground and don't have to worry about a lot of our telephone.
And yeah, I mean, had a conversation with them. Oh, it was probably about a year or so ago, but they were a little wishy-washy with we have what's called an underground fund. And so those are monies that go into a fund, and as we get to intersections that have overhead power line, we'll try to put those underground, or if we have a business coming in, we'll start having requirements for them. It'd be great if you're coming in that you know around these, so there's kind of a fund that we can tap into to help offset that. So questionable housing. I don't want to say that they were doing anything bad. It was just, how much money do we actually have in here? Use it for? I'd love to see everything.
I'm sure with Costco, everything's under. Oh, that's brand new.
That's been the case along the tree, that section, roll any, to see it all.
Alright,
Wow, trees.
section 115, amended in 2015.
Sorry. I guess I'm trying to wrap my head around, so how many franchises do we have currently? Or do I need to go to the office of the city clerk and see the index franchise record? I just don't have a concept if it's like 10 or 250 that I don't know about.
I mean, I think the only one we have due to changes in technology is probably Comcast right now. We would have renewed that about 3 years ago. To another 10-year term, hit a 10-year.
Didn't push to get Altitude Sports back on at the time?
Didn't get involved in that one, that was before that. Shoot. It's back on now.
It is now.
It took 3 years.
Well, we could have been the heroes.
You can get Fubo.
Okay. Section 116 was voted down in 2015. I couldn't understand why, but I think it had to do with the way that it was written.
What were they trying to do? Just repeal?
Just remove it, yeah, but the way that it reads is, shall sections 116 and 117 of the Littleton Charter concerning railroad tracks, crossings, and switches along or across public thoroughfares be deleted in their entirety. I think the words deleted in their entirety probably were like, wait, what? Why are we deleting things in their entirety? Like, I think the framing.
Well, and especially when these specifically speak to, somewhat to public safety, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I read this as the city council can force railroads to keep their intersections safe, so I'm not sure why we would want to repeal that. I mean, again, maybe that's not how it plays out in practice, maybe it's all federal, maybe this doesn't come up anymore, maybe we have absolutely no pull with the railroad companies, and so.
No, you do not.
I mean, we do according to our city charter.
But again,
One's a little different.
does leaving this in here, is it eating any hay, right? Like, is it worse?
What is RTD considered today? It's not a railroad. I mean, is it just public transportation district, I guess? So the only applicable, we have the road, we have the tracks along Santa Fe, we have RTD separate. We have the tracks through town. Right along, you know what I'm talking about, right over here. What else do we have?
So,
We don't have a lot.
so RTD would be a special transportation district.
Right.
So they're a little different. The railroad is the railroad. Us kind of, what I don't like about it is it seems to imply that we have a right to be like, yeah, that's not working for us, so you're gonna have to change it. Yeah, they're just not.
Well, we have the right to imply it and ask. They don't have to
It's just-
reply.
Yeah, I mean, if this is null and void because of federal law or something.
Yeah, it's kind of where my head's at,
but
impossibility, but
All of the,
I mean, when I read this, it says,
If anyone came to me and said, hey, redraft this ordinance requiring, I don't know, the Burlington Northern to jog a little bit to little
well, but
west, I'd be like, okay, no.
But where this also comes into play is the railroad has a bridge that goes over mineral, and they need to maintain that bridge and keep it safe. So it doesn't fall. So I don't mind this section, so I wouldn't necessarily exclude it, so I probably voted against it. Because,
How would that speak to public safety?
Yeah, and another thing that I think about is, which is not currently happening, but may happen in the future, is the Front Range Passenger Rail District, which would go through here, as far as I understand. And at least keeping this would allow us to have that possibility of whatever it is at that point in time, because I mean, if we have, I think they said 4 daily trips through this area, I mean, it's not a lot of trips, but you know, something may happen, or like, yeah, I think it's good to have something.
all of that would be owned by the railroads, Union Pacific.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, so.
right, they own all the right of way wherever RTD is located. Since I was a former director of RTD. It's in the railroad right of way. It's not outside of the railroad.
And it's gonna be, yeah, I guess it's fine, when I did, projects in Arvada was the full line, the G line. But I mean, FRA is the one who's going to be dealing, yeah, Federal Railway Administration is the one who's gonna be dealing with most of the safety type aspects of it. Obviously, no one would wanna get shut down by the FRA, so being Burlington Northern Santa Fe has strong motivation to make sure they're not gonna do close down. Everything was a pain in the butt with getting FRA. I'm gonna throw some more effort into it.
I mean,
Alphabet.
in this section of maintaining it in a good condition, one of the things that the railroads are to provide to us is advance notice of what is coming through the town, city, and they don't do that on a timely basis. What is our, or,
What, when they're bringing hazardous material through our city?
right,
And that's subject to FRA regulation, not City of Littleton regulation.
okay, well, they don't do it well. They usually provide us.
Do.
Well, it would be nice if they provided us advance notice rather than letting us know after the fact, which is the usual case now.
Yeah, that's. Here.
I mean, I guess the question I would have for the parking lot is does the Federal Rail Authority have all jurisdiction? If there's no recourse for anything, then why would we want to keep this in the charter? Right? It's just toothless. It doesn't feel better, but it doesn't do anything. If that's the case. So I would like to understand.
I'm wondering if there's some value in, not that they actually do anything, but you know, I brought up the graffiti and stuff, so mineral. They were best, and this, again, this was 1959. I assume in 1959, there was at-grade crossings right at, right?
Oh, yes, there were.
And so the safety approach is making sure you had, you know, flashing lights that were working, all that sort of stuff, probably would be relevant now, and then.
Until the late seventies, we had at-grade.
Yeah, and then, you know, you get their little bridge across there, there's no place within the city where there's gonna be an at-grade crossing with Burlington North, Santa Fe. And so some of it is rendered kind of moot.
Usually they use those
I
tracks.
don't want a bunch of stuff falling off the bridge as you're driving down there.
Yeah, but I mean, we have no authority over it then.
Is it possible that this could be interpreted to read that the charter is granting council authority to enter arbitration on this topic. Maybe we're focused on the wrong part of the text of of the paragraph.
I think it says subject to arbitration. I don't think it gives them the right.
To enter.
Not necessarily. I would leave that to reinterpretation.
It's not hurting anything by being in the charter.
Right.
No, it doesn't.
Just providing false.
Also.
Sometimes you
yeah.
need that. Sometimes you have to be able to dream.
Well, and when I read subject to, I guess I read it as subject to arbitration, that just means the outcome, right? Like, if we win, arbitration goes our way, we can pass an ordinance requiring blah, 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 blah of railroads. I guess I read this text as this is granting authority to council to require the whole rest of the paragraph based on how arbitration goes. Therefore, I think that potentially we're hung up on the wrong part of the text of the paragraph.
That's fair. Okay, any extra parking lot questions?
We'll bring this back and discuss this. Potentially.
And like Carol said, I don't see what it hurts.
Yeah.
But like Billy said, it might just be, or sorry, maybe it was Phil, it could just be false hope. Maybe it doesn't help us either.
Okay, 117,
Yeah, my only comment is, can we put more teeth?
can we put more teeth in it?
What's the difference between 117B and 18?
Yes. That was my.
As far as I can tell, they're like literally,
License or permit.
yeah,
But it does say permit in the
Yeah,
B.
117B talks about permits.
So lead B. Right.
yeah, one or the other, I don't know.
Well,
Or change B to say
Or
licenses.
remove 118
either.
and rename 117 to revocable licenses and permits.
Let's explain why we need a licenses sections and a permit sections and they have to be separate.
Yeah.
No,
No,
I mean, I'll tell you what my problem is in practicality for both sections. Trying to think last time I granted a revoke. As it says, the council may grant permits for the temporary use occupation of any street, alley, or public place. I will tell you, the reality is, whether that is that it is most likely the city manager who's signing off on this stuff. So when we are doing any sorts of events, if people are reserving a park, I mean, we've got South Suburban who handles most of the reservations of parks, but there are times in which we'll be doing something in Viga. There are times in which we have, you know, we had the Pride event, we
And if we
had
think back to
Western Welcome Week,
weekends on Main during COVID,
it's on Main.
we did those through.
There's also temporary permits for like a storage unit.
100%.
That's put there and it does flow through the city manager's office rather
Right,
than the
I
council.
mean, those things are not coming to city council to be the one, and so.
Same.
Altogether? Or change council to city manager.
I mean,
Or council or.
It doesn't say it have to.
see, and that's kind of how we.
Yeah, and it does say may, it
That's how you
doesn't
make it
say
actual
shall.
practically. It's like, well, they may enter into IGA too. I don't necessarily need to take an IGA over something that was like $3. It's like, what are we doing? We're not gonna spend a month trying to get something through council because someone wanted to, the 4-H club wanted to keep a cow on our farm.
And I think the
It's
use of the
like, go
word
ahead.
may, it's fine, it doesn't say shall.
So keep,
I don't like it.
if you don't like it, okay, I mean, if it's unnecessary.
But the council may do a lot of stuff. What I don't like about it is it implies that council is the only one that. I think.
On the note is,
But the council has granted the authority to the city manager.
I think council or city manager may.
I know what you're saying. I just think as time has gone on and events have come up, it's.
So,
Is there a section of the charter that I may have missed or we haven't gotten to yet that talks about the duties of the and powers of the city manager?
Yes, that was our previous meeting.
Yeah. But generally, the start with the administration of the city, so.
Okay.
And then,
My only question is, do we need both of those?
well, and I wrote it down, to discuss that kind of repetitive.
Okay.
Without spending too much time, could we just play the potential real world scenario here? So we have the new Clover Leaf coming, what's it called, the Quad Road? So let's imagine a world where we do need RTD changed tracks right there, the tracks that cross Mineral. Because the Clover Leaf now needs to be built in that same area. So if we look at these, the way they're written right now, do we have the permissions or the teeth that we need to ask RTD for the changes we may want in order to make that Clover Leaf pattern?
It's actually gonna be the negotiations will be with the railroad because RTD's tracks.
You're right, 'cause you said that earlier, right? RTD.
RTD tracks are on railroad property.
That's correct.
Right, so the negotiation. would
They're in
be-
railroad right away. Owned by the Union Pacific and Burlington Northern.
And remember, council can draft ordinances. They can't make the railroad.
Yeah, they can't like,
We drafted an ordinance and you will. I mean, like, they can't.
your tracks here.
Well, and because of Santa Fe is actually
CDOT, isn't it?
CDOT, so CDOT's gonna be involved.
Mhm.
You're gonna have at least two counties involved.
And so my question is, the way these are written, like with this real world scenario in mind, do we have what we need? Or are these
We're
just,
not really gonna play a role in those permissions.
okay. Okay. Cause when I read these, I almost begin to wonder, like, we have a real world scenario in front of us. When I read these, I don't see these applying at all. The way they're written today, like they're almost fluff. No, the way it is today.
Fortunately,
For better or for worse, I'm not, like,
unfortunately, we don't play into the conversation at all. Not at all, but like,
We're in the conversation, but
the decision makers, we have less priority in the conversation. Let's put it that way. Extension of territory, section 119.
Let's talk about Chomar.
I think that's different.
Not annexation.
This is for like streets. This is like, Ridge Road
Yeah.
currently ends at Prince. And if it wanted to be expanded again, that's this, correct?
It's also gonna be like the sidewalks in front of Costco at Middle Place.
I see, okay.
Streets that were in Littleton Village.
Widening.
That were sent to the city but they were Benford District responsibilities originally.
Gotcha, I see.
And
Okay.
so those give you some examples.
This is eminent domain, basically, right?
Not eminent domain, no,
Extension of territory.
it's like, you know, the streets no longer are Metro District responsibilities because they're taken over by the city. Because they're actually used by school buses and such. As an example.
So Reed, I was under the impression that whenever the quad road was decided, or built out, or designed, or that there was some sort of expansion of right of way to make all of that allowed. Was that done under this, or was that done under eminent domain? If there's a.
So. I mean, yeah, there was a dedication of right of way that was given to us. We actually had to have a trade purchase, if you will, of the property. I'm honestly trying to make sense of being curious about the 911 market was being thought of at that time.
I can go back.
I don't look at, not reading that necessarily as It's not annexation.
I can go do some research on it.
Right. I'm just, I like to try to put these kind of, well, what's the practical need for this, or why did we need this? And do we still need it?
Yes.
I think so.
Well, I will,
I'm not arguing with you, I'm just.
I will tell you, when you have sidewalks that are built, for example, if ever there were sidewalks built along the south side of Ridge Road,
Yes.
and eventually you want the city to maintain some portion of that at intersections, this would apply.
You think it's coming out of this one? We're having the authority?
Yeah, I'm very confused on what a franchise is in
know.
this context, in this context, right?
Does it have to do with franchises?
Yeah, it has to do with franchises, so I'm trying to figure out,
We're just talking about practice now.
like, if we added in okay, so maybe here's real world scenario.
This is not exclusive.
It's public utilities, right?
It's franchise, for the most part, so we annex in Trailmark into the city. Trailmark does not, the franchise agreement that we had with Comcast did not extend to Trailmark, because Trailmark did not exist in that fashion. The Chatfield Green Basin or whatever. So this gives us the authority to extend that franchise agreement out to Trailmark. Does my idea make more sense than Bill's?
It's not a competition.
Just teasing,
Zing.
I'm teasing. Oh, my God.
And that would apply to South Platte Renew utility as well.
That's not a franchise though.
Yeah, they're not franchise.
All right.
This is giving the council the authority to tell Comcast they've got to provide the same services
They're now
in
part of
Littleton as they out at Trailmark. There's no negotiating. Trailmark doesn't have to pay any more than we do.
because they're now
the
part of
same
our
terms.
municipal boundaries.
And this, let the council do it. If they want to.
The only part that makes it maybe our scenario not fall in line without a vote of the registered electors, we never would have necessarily taken a vote of registered electors to allow for, well, you know what? In years past, other cities have taken votes for franchise to. Let's see if I can figure this one out. All right, now.
Are you gonna work on that one?
Didn't Fort Collins have a vote? That dealt with franchise and.
Yes, and when I was in Arvada, we had a vote too for.
I'm gonna let Bree research that.
Yeah, thank you. All righty. 120. 121. Anybody else? Extra. Comments?
So I was a little confused about the forfeiture in 121, so would that be like if Comcast, I don't know, leases out their cable to somebody else, then our past agreement is null and void unless they renegotiate it? I guess I'm not sure what the application is there.
Yes.
Scribal error.
Well, I mean, like if Comcast.
What's your Scrivener's error?
Like if Comcast sells Littleton to Charter and we become a charter city, like
First sentence.
that contract is
It's
null.
No, I think-
technically correct.
Okay.
It's just not the most common spelling, but it's technically correct.
Sounds good.
So we'll do this with a lot
You
of
can go through and fix
contracts.
them all to have an E if it makes you happy, because that's a Scrivener's error and it doesn't change
Yes.
the substance.
So in a lot of the contracts that the city will enter into, will have an assignment clause in there, which means you have to let us know if you're no longer the one providing the service. So this one in the franchise context would be, yeah, if Comcast merged with whoever it is, maybe we'd have to be thoughtful about whoever it is to actually that franchise agreement.
Anyone else?
Becomes especially dangerous when they want like payment and it's like, I'm sorry, I have no idea who this company is that now thinks they're.
Person.
Yay, that's us. I was just gonna say, can we make it 5 years? Instead of periodically,
Yeah.
or 10?
I mean, do
Or 10 or-
do we want to get more prescriptive? or-
I personally think so, I mean, like, personally.
I think, something like not more than 10 years or something.
Yeah, not to exceed 10 years, yeah, something like that. I just think that we have seen other periodic periods in this charter that we don't even know when was the last time that this happened, right? And,
I'm not sure what you mean.
yeah, like, so, for example, like, I think we had a section where it said, like the negotiation of like the water, or like, I said like periodic, right? But,
What does that?
those are other reasons, there may be other reasons, but that is not done on like a certain amount of time. And I think that this document needs to be living and breathing, not a year, of course, but not to exceed 10 years. I think it's a good recommendation.
You could say, yeah, we're gonna do it once every 300 years periodically. Well, that's not reasonable.
You could say periodically, not to exceed
exceed.
10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes more sense.
Yeah, periodically.
So that's a fine thing.
The council has amended the charter along the way without a charter review committee. So
Sure.
Well,
not to exceed 10 years is a good,
Yeah, when we think about this body, because yes, they have amended it, a section here, a section there, right? But this is kind of that higher level.
Comprehensive.
Very comprehensive, yes. Yeah, okay.
So you think that it should be more frequent than?
I just think that it should be
It should be,
more prescriptive.
We should set an upper limit.
That it should be like not to exceed 10 years. Like, I mean, so as an example,
Just like the comprehensive plan
Well,
of the
because
city is supposed to be every 5 years.
correct.
That's the normal way, but it
and,
could be 7, could be.
well, and technically, this charter review committee is 12 years past when they first convened. Because remember, that was a longer process and an election, right? So we keep thinking of the first charter review as being 2015, but that was really the election where questions went to. It was really 2013, 2014.
Okay,
So we are past that 10-year
Period.
mark. And so,
And a lot of things have changed
yes.
in those 10 years. So,
And does that, like, if we put in not to exceed 10 years, they could do it at 5 years, they could do it at 3 years, they could do it at 7.
Let's do it in the 10th year.
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense to do it that
Every year.
frequently, but
well, it's something that if we find something here that puts us in, I don't know, and we have to remove it, right? Like, of course, the council can go through it, but if we catch it before, that doesn't expose us to liability, that, allows us to be more flexible, or I don't know, some crazy new technology can be installed so that there's nothing in the polls, and that Bill is, always happy. We would, like, I'm just kidding, I'm just.
still happy all the time.
you're treading on thin.
Yeah. No, but like, we don't know why it's going to happen, and I mean, if it was 12 years ago, the last time that a group of us,
Yeah.
a group of citizens was doing something like this, not to exceed 10 years, I think it's a good addition,
Yeah, I mean, I like the idea of a little bit more frequent just because of living memory fades quickly.
Mhm.
And the stories I think are really helpful.
Can we delete this? That was my question for the transitional provision.
Oh,
Since it has nothing in it?
yeah, what's this, that's the backstory here.
That's just sort of a catch-all.
Oh, see.
It was amended.
I assumed that it had some text and then in 1991.
Shouldn't it say repealed?
Yeah.
It's not there anymore?
It probably should.
They deleted this section.
They probably said delete in the.
Yeah,
in
in the
voting. It
language,
was like, shall we delete this instead of repeal it altogether? Yeah.
We can go back and look at what that is. And then that's it.
That's it.
I have a question about the certificate
Of
of,
course, go for it.
why aren't there commas in between their names? My name is Harry W. Bolzinos D. Elkins. Like, that's two men, right?
Oh, I see.
Two names.
Yeah, I mean, that's not substantive and
I
it's
know,
not.
I realize it's silly and inconsequential.
Are any of these people still around?
I had that same thought, like, I wonder what any of them are doing today.
Yeah, should enter.
They probably didn't have any like 18-year-old committee in 19.
Well,
No.
assuming that the voting age was 21, so.
Well, right, but yeah.
Okay,
All right,
that's it for tonight.
any extra questions?
I have a general comment.
Yes.
You know, I look at this as A, B, C, E priorities. And when I look back at what got thrown away in 2015, we should use that as a sense of why does it make sense to get into something that's not meaningful? And I know that we've had some conversation tonight, and I think some of the things that you've said, Colleen, how meaningful is it? How much do you want to stand on this and, you know, with a sword? And I think there are, in the two that we're gonna review in November,
Probably a lot.
there's some real important stuff in there.
That's meat and potatoes.
And yes, I mean, yeah, I mean, some real critical stuff. And when we start burdening it with a lot of stuff that is less meaningful. And I would say, I want to compliment both of you, because we could not do any of this were it not for your counsel.
And Mike
Thank you.
Genton absent you.
Pardon me?
And Mike Genton absent you.
I said the two of them.
Yeah, and to your point, Kent, I do think it's important to kind of look at not only what didn't get recommended to go to the ballot, but what went to the ballot and failed and maybe why.
Yes,
And to use that as,
it's a guide.
yeah, just kind of as that divining rod, right?
I just wanted to mention.
No, I think that's,
Thank you.
I think that's good.
All righty. Well, any extra comments?
Well, I mean, it'll get down to when we, only because we- a few minutes before. I mean, in our report, we can also make comments on things that are, we believe are issues.
Or
That
issues.
could be, as opposed to, or in addition to recommendations for charter.
Sure. See, and I think that that's very pertinent to come up with comments that base the discussion. You appointed these 14 people. So that could be like an addendum
Oh, yeah.
to the real recommendations.
I
What
don't,
we went through and what we talked about.
that's why I think passing those on to the council is prudent.
I agree.
And, there are other items that, you know, we don't have to fall on our swords over.
No,
Well, and I don't think that Kent's saying, don't don't move them forward, but don't invest a ton of time and energy and conversation
Right.
in things that you know aren't gonna really get any traction.
Mhm.
thank you.
Okay. Anything else? The meeting is adjourned. Oh, wait. Yeah, recap and reminders. Next meeting is November the 13th. So just note that on your calendar. That's correct, Arts and Cultural Board. Please send your questions.
Yeah, take a look at those two sections.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Sections
I'll
9 and
rewatch the videos.
Yes, yes. So November 13th, and if you have any extra questions that come up as you're reading or your evening reading of the charter every day, to go to sleep.
Every morning at 7.
Oh, there you go. With your coffee, there you go. Yeah, send them to Colleen and she'll continue to. Yes, Billy.
And then there will be no meeting in the month of December.
That's correct.
And our January meeting is tentatively the 15th, I suppose.
Whatever our normal.
Whatever the normal third
Yeah.
Thursday is, yeah.
Mhm.
Perfect. Now this meeting is adjourned at 7:56 PM. Thank you for coming.
Thanks, everyone.
Well, I mean, without. It's